legislatures coming up starting in January. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any
How
questions.
concerned are you
that
says it's not dead?
that House come in December ultimately to vote on redistricting?
Well, I think the Senate's made it pretty clear. I haven't seen where any one of their senators that have expressed a no to redistricting. I don't see where any of them have wavered about changing their mind. What happens here, I've always said, is very difficult to predict what's going to happen in the legislature. But I think as we move along, the closer we get to January 5th, and really this thing ends, I guess, December 12th. I think the more focus is going to be on what can we really do to help Hoosiers. And right now, mid-decade redistricting, it's never been popular from the get-go. All the polls have shown that. And I think that's really what's been determining the opinions of, particularly of the Senate.
How confident are you that a vote will ultimately take place on redistricting in this chamber, given that those...
How confident am I that it won't take place?
That a vote will take place?
Well, as I've said earlier, I'm not going to predict anything that we do here in the General Assembly. I never have. All I can tell you is what the public has been telling us, and I'm very confident that the public will continue to weigh in on this issue and will continue to voice their opposition to mid-decade redistricting.
What do you think about the folks in favor of redistricting? Is it just a very loud, vocal minority, or?
Well, it's I'm not sure if they're even very loud, but it's definitely a very small group, 30%ish. I mean, it's very small, and they may, I don't know if they have clear understanding of what we're talking about, but I think, frankly, and I've said this from the get-go, Hoosiers are a very independent-minded bunch. And they are not going to take direction from anybody in Washington, D.C. They're going to make up their own minds on these issues. They've looked at it, they've studied it, and they said we're against mid-decade redistricting. Go ahead.
The Speaker is telling his folks to keep the first 2 weeks open. What are you telling your caucus?
Well, I mean, we're in session now until we adjourn, or obviously supposed to come back on January 5th, but technically we're in session. So clearly, if it calls back in, we'll be ready to go and fight another day on that front.
Quick housekeeping question that I just thought of. Since you're technically in session now, does this back up the calendar for when you could sine die, or is it only legislative days that count?
Well, they'll issue a calendar, but remember, he said that if we were going to come in December, it would cut off time at the end, so around February 28th, 9th, whatever the 28th. And so now it will just continue to go until March 12th, 14th. I haven't really seen a calendar, but it'll go until March.
We're always in session starting on Organization Day, technically.
Yeah.
So your thoughts on what happened to Senator Good?
Oh, yeah, it's horrible. It frankly has no place in our society to be doing that. And I hope Senator Good's doing well. I haven't had a chance to talk to him. But I hope he's doing well. And that type of violence, that should never take place. And I know him. He's an excellent senator. Does a good job representing his district. And he'll continue to study the issues. I give him a lot of credit, by the way, for having a town hall. Democrats, we've been holding town halls on this issue since August, and I give him credit because I think he's one of the few Republicans that has held a town hall. And several folks turned out, I think well over 100, and he was getting, I think, a pretty good sample size of what the folks in his district were saying, and they were against mid-decade redistricting as well.
Do you think it's proper for the legislature not to come back into session for a special session installed by the governor?
Do I think it's proper?
Yes. Do you think it's proper? Is it legally a good practice?
I'm against mid-decade redistricting, so of course I don't think it's a good idea to come back in December.
But the question, though, do you believe it's proper for the legislature to basically effectively ignore a special session call from the governor?
They can call one, but we don't have to meet. The governor can call, but we don't have to meet. Anybody else?
Do you think that the Republicans should go ahead and release what their map plan is going to be if they're going to, how far ahead should people be able to see this?
Well, that's a great question, because people have come out voting or signaling that they're in favor of this process or mid-decade redistricting, when I've asked many of them if they've even seen a map, and the answer's been no. So I find that kind of interesting that we're going to be all of a sudden saying yes to bills, which this would be a bill, without having even seen the fine print. So yeah, they probably should I assume they would produce something if we were going to be in here discussing it.
Not that you're in the business of giving political advice to Republicans, but if Republicans do move forward with redistricting in an election year with no presidential race, no gubernatorial race, no U.S. Senate race, and Diego Morales at the top of the ticket, would that be good for Democrats?
Well,
when you put it that way.
Yeah, I know. I haven't done a deep dive analysis on the Secretary of State's race, but we've seen enough problems there in the Secretary of State's office to feel like Democrats have a pretty good shot of winning that race and that election in 2026.
Are House Democrats preparing a legal challenge?
Pardon me?
Are House Democrats preparing a legal challenge?
We will continue to discuss things like that.
Will the redistricting fight create chaos when the session begins in January? Do you fear that legislation will not get done because of what's going on?
There's a time crunch there. There's no doubt. I mean, you're going to have people are already thinking about filing for example, to run for state delegate, which you have to be within certain congressional districts. So if they start chopping up, like for example, where I am, Allen County, you could end up being filing to run for state delegate in the wrong congressional district. So there's a lot of things that go into this that most people aren't. I know that's kind of deep into the weeds, but folks aren't really talking about.
What about the legislative session with legislators? Will this create some chaos or some hard feelings and legislative business won't get done?
Well, I am worried that we'll definitely, if it passes, I think it would surely create some hard feelings. If it goes by the wayside, I think we'll just go back to doing our regular work, which I said earlier is to help Hoosiers, and let's reduce those high costs that are hurting Hoosiers all the time right now.
I think this impacted Governor Braun's governorship. The first year, between property taxes, redistricting, the other issues the governor's had as of late, IADC.
Well, you asked me a lot of political questions that I'm probably not. I'm a legislator here to do legislative business, so I'm not a political pundit necessarily, but I'm just like you all. I read the polls too, and I see where his approval rating isn't very good. And when you start dealing and doing things where you're going against the grain, in this case you're going against 70% of Hoosiers that don't want to do this, it's not going to help your approval rating, and it's not going to help your ability then to be able to push legislation to get things done that you want to get done. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.